I decided to watch a telenovela with my boyfriend. That decision somehow led to an argument that obliterated the entire relationship. My relationship with my ex-boyfriend lasted for 3 years. Yesterday, after a long day at work, I sat to watch the telenovela Teresa on my laptop. For context, the telenovela Teresa is about a young and intelligent woman, desperately seeking to leave the grinding poverty of her neighborhood. This causes her to have a miserable and resentful life. Making plans to escape the life of poverty surrounding her, she uses her beauty and often manipulates men in order to gain money from them. As I was watching the series, my boyfriend decided to join me. We watched it together for a while. Whenever I watch something, I'm always very involved in the storyline, and I react enthusiastically whenever I find a scene interesting. It became a problem when I laughed at a particular point in the series. It was when Teresa seduced Fernando, her husband's best friend and sister-in-law's fiancé. Because of this, Fernando broke off his engagement and gave himself completely to Teresa, just so she could rob him of all of his money. After Fernando understood her plans, it was too late as Teresa already sold his companies and kept the money for herself. The scene ended with her dancing around the house shouting, "I'm a millionaire," and saying her famous line, "Between being and not being, I am." At this particular moment, I laughed at the scene as I found it funny and engaging, since the actress playing the role of Teresa was incredibly talented. When the episode ended, I looked at my boyfriend, and I noticed that he was being very silent and weird. I asked him what was wrong, and he immediately started yelling at me about how women, myself included, reinforce such behaviors. He said that it was like we were cheering them on. He said that the one thing we all ultimately want is to financially drain a man, only for us to move on to the next without remorse. I tried to communicate that it was just a series, and that he should have known me better. It was to no avail. How ironic that this man had been living in my apartment for 5 days per week. I mostly pay for takeout. He never contributed to paying the bills, although he was using way more electricity than I do. I bought him a significant amount of expensive presents, such as video games and even a Nintendo Switch. Furthermore, he never spent a cent on me since I paid all of our dates, or we would go 50-50. All of his gifts to me were handmade or bought by his mother. After he finished yelling, he had the audacity to say to me, "I bet you'll also be a blood-sucking gold digger soon enough. I know how you have been trying to improve your appearance to get a better guy in the market." I tried to lose some weight for my health and got my hair colored ginger. At the end of his breakdown, he told me that he wanted to break up since he did not expect that behavior from me. After he finished talking, I stared at the wall for about 40 seconds trying to process what went down in my house. I got up and started packing all of his things in a big bag. He tried to tell me that he did not mean it, although he was still mad at me. He said that he needed some time to think about it, before making a final decision. I simply stated that this decision was no longer his to make, and that this breakdown was the last thing I needed after a tiring day at work. I told him that nobody has the right to control how I will react and what scene I will laugh to. I also said that I do not accept anyone using such nonsense to insult and gaslight me. I made it clear that stressing me out in my own house has been a big no, even from the very beginning. Lastly, I said to his face that he's a man baby who does not know how to show some love and appreciation to a person, who clearly had no bad intentions and simply wanted to unwind while watching some show. I also told him that I expected him to send me all of the money I spent on him, including food, traveling costs, internet, electricity he uses for playing his video games, personal hygiene items, and many more. He is currently staying with his mom, while I am making a list of everything he owes me. I am so glad that my home is finally leech-free. Maybe I do need to implement some of Teresa's strategies after all. He had never attacked me like this before, and he had only been staying in my apartment for the last year, not for the entirety of our relationship. Before him almost moving in, we would always go 50-50 on dates. I always knew that he would rather rely on me than be the provider, but I never imagined that he would insult me like this, so I was being patient, hoping he'd find a good job and change his mindset. I knew he had low self-esteem, but I never imagined he would take it out on me like this. This was the final blow.